Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Into the Massiverse, where we are going to be discussing A Court of Wings and Ruin, the third book in the ACOWAR series. Before we get started, I do want to mention something that I forgot to talk about in my ACOWAR video, and that is the Weaver scene. The main reason I realised I'd omitted that from my recap of the last book is because it comes back. It is relevant to the plot of this book. So before we delve into discussing ACOWAR, I'm just going to explain the Weaver as an entity and the scene that involves the Weaver back in ACOMAF. Now, before heading to the Summer Court, team want proof that Feyre can actually use the powers she's been given by the High Lords to find items that belong to them. She's going to go to the Summer Court to try and find the Book of Breathings. That technically belongs to Tarquin, and she has some of Tarquin's magic inside her. They decide to do a bit of a test run, make sure that this theory does work. And Rhys says, hey, an item that belongs to me is currently in a place called the Weaver's Cottage. It's in the middle of this woodland, far away from everything else. And Rhys says, okay, Feyre, what I'll do is I'll take you there, and if you manage to find my item, whatever it may be, in the Weaver's Cottage, we know you're legit. We know that you can find things that belong to High Lords, even if you don't know what they necessarily look like, because you'll have never seen the Book of Breathings before. Now, Rhys drops her off at this cottage in the middle of nowhere and is like, FYI, a creature lives in this cottage called the Weaver. She is like a hoarder. This house is full of tut. And what she does is she collects things and devours people that enter her cottage. One little pro, though, the Weaver is blind. So as long as Feyre can sneak into the cottage, locate the one item in there that belongs to Rhysand, and gets out without making a sound, we're all going to be okay. So Feyre has to sneak into this cottage without making any noise and figure out what it is in this absolute hoarder's nest of a building belongs to Rhysand. Obviously she does, because the logic tracks. She can find things that belong to High Lords. There's a bit of trouble with her trying to get out of the cottage. Let's just say she isn't as quiet as she could be. But she is successful, and Rhysand picks her up afterwards, and we find out that the item she had to locate was, in fact, a ring. A ring that had belonged to Rhysand's mother. From this point on, Rhys is like, you keep that ring. You've earned it. Well done, Feyre. But as the story progresses and we have Rhys's big reveal that he and Feyre are mates and he's always known it, we discover that Rhys's mother actually gave her ring to the Weaver, put it in the cottage, and said to Rhysand, no, the woman you marry will be able to get this ring back. If she's the woman for you, she will be able to get my ring from the Weaver. And it's like, oh my God, Rhysand's dead mother. It's just like, yeah, my Rhys, my baby Rhys. He is so good. The woman who wants to be with him, she's got to prove it. She's got to earn it. And I love that Rhys knows Feyre's going to be able to get that ring because he knows that she's his mate. It's a way for him to, I guess, kind of sense check and be like, no, this was my mum's wish. Let's see if Feyre can do it. I'm confident she can, but this will be like a rubber stamp. Yeah, Feyre is that girl. And it's really cute in hindsight. Everyone's like, oh, that's really sucky. He put her in so much danger to jump through hoops. She shouldn't have to prove everything. But part of me is like, do you know what? I love that. I love that Rhys does so much for Feyre that this one little thing that is purposeful. She's doing a practice run for the mission they're about to head on. But it means a lot to him, and it helps keep his mum's memory alive. We also find out that the clothes Feyre wears, the beautiful night court dresses, were all made by Rhysand's mother. She was a seamstress, and she'd made a wardrobe full of night court appropriate clothes for Rhys's eventual wife. Like, she was thinking about her son's future and the woman he would end up with. And when he shows Feyre this wardrobe and she starts taking the clothes out and putting them on, they all fit perfectly. because she was always meant to be the woman who ended up with him. And his mum's like not predicted this, but it's all just restood. They're like, oh my God, I knew she was perfect. And my mum would love her. She ticks all the boxes. She is exactly the woman my mum imagined for me. And it's really, really cute. And I'm sorry I forgot to say it. But we are going to go back to the Weaver's Cottage in 2 days' book. So let's get started. Delve further into the Massiverse as we discuss what actually happens in A Court of Wings and Ruin, Book 3 in the ACOWAR series by Sarah J Maas. Now, the book starts with a cheeky little scene of Rhys in the past, which is really cute because we don't get a lot of like just Rhys scenes. These books are very much from Feyre's POV. And we just see him in the flashback actively taking part in the war prior to the veil being erected. He's like out on the battlefield, he's looking for his friends. And it's just a really good display that not only was Rhys supportive of trying to protect humanity and changing the hierarchical structure of the world that benefited him, by the way, he actually put his money where his mouth is. He was down walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And that just makes him even more attractive in my eyes. Now, in the present day, Feyre is in the Spring Court with Tamlin, and she is pretending to be the damsel in distress that they have saved from the evil High Lord of the Night Court. They don't know that she is now the High Lady of the Night Court, and girl is acting as a spy. And this is honestly what a real high point in the series, because Feyre is an absolute menace. I see this little section as proof that Feyre and Rhys are definitely meant to be together, because we know Rhys has this reputation for being sneaky, snidey, evil, and this is where we see Feyre be absolutely ruthless and cunning. She has been wronged. To be fair, they've come for her sisters, so I make Feyre right. Everything she does in this section of the book, I'm cheering on. Okay, will it have irreparable damage to one of the High Courts of Prythian? Maybe, but screw the Spring Court. We're Team Night Court now. So Feyre attends a meeting with Ianthe, who we hate, and Feyre hates because she knows Ianthe sold her sisters out. Rotten snake in the garden. But Feyre has to pretend that she's totally cool with Ianthe, and she is just gritted teeth. We're getting into women politics. We're getting into, I've got your measure now, bitch, kind of vibes. And Tamlin announces that Hybern is going to be moving his armies into the Spring Court. It's going to be Hybern's base here in Prythian. So Durian, the man who was once an eyeball, arrives in the Spring Court and brings with him two of Hybern's like highest officers, a set of twins called Branna and Dagden. These two are just... oh, they're creepy, they're evil, we do not like them at all. Major bad vibes from these two. Feyre, Lucian, Durian, and the twins, they all go to the Vale, to the wall between the mortal realms and the Fey realms, to examine some holes that appear to be growing in the Vale itself. It's weakening, which is not good if Hybern's got a whole army there and he's planning to go and attack the mortal lands. We see Feyre tell Alice from book 1, who I said was a real one. She lies to her and's like, yeah, my feelings for Rhys, none of them were true. I was totally enslaved. Victim. And homegirl Alice is like, babe, I was there when the Morrigan came to pick you up. I saw the difference in you leaving for your time with Rhys and coming back from your time with Rhys. I can go along with this lie, homie, but that man was good for you. And I was there when Morrigan picked you up and took you away, and I begged her to take you. I wanted you safe over in the Night Court. I might live and work here in the Spring Court, but do not vibe with the way that you've been treated while you're here. Oh, clear proof. Alice is a real one. A real iconic moment of just fucking with Ianthe is when they go to have a celebration of the summer solstice in the Spring Court. And Ianthe has this whole ceremony planned. And Feyre's like, sure you do. And luckily for Feyre, none of the others have cottoned on to how powerful she actually is, that she's been exploring all of her powers and has pretty good control at this point. So as they are doing this ceremony and the sun like crests over the hill, what Feyre does is she manipulates the light, she manipulates the rocks and everything. So as the sun rises, it hits Feyre and she makes herself glow. Homegirl literally has the power of the High Lord of Day inside her. So of course she can do this. And she's radiating sunlight, and everyone present is like, oh my goodness, she is blessed. Like all of the religious messaging Yanthe's been building up to try and make herself a big deal, totally undermined. And everyone's like, oh, Feyre, she's magical and wonderful. She is blessed. And Yanthe's like, you, why is this happening to me? Oh, I just love Feyre ruining Yanthe's like hype up Yanthe Day. You messed with her sisters. You brought it on yourself, Yanthe. Feyre's still not like 100% over her nightmares, by the way. She's been really working on it, but she's used to waking up and having Rhys there beside her. You know, she's now back in a place that's quite triggering for her. And when she wakes up in the middle of the night, instead of going to Tamlin, who has, you know, historically been unsympathetic, she's like, do you know what? Tamlin's taken umbrage to a little bit of flanter between me and Lucien before. This is where I'm going to stop being a real iffy in terms of breaking up this bromance. I totally understand why Feyre does it, but she uses Lucien to wind Tamlin up. And I really like Lucien, so I feel bad for him at this point. But she wakes up from her nightmare and is crying. And instead of going to Tamlin, she goes to Lucien. So she is in Lucien's room, all upset. He wakes up, and obviously he's going to comfort her. They are friends. He cares about her a lot. From his POV, she has potentially been traumatized by being under the mountain, where she saved his life, and then traumatized the second time by being kidnapped. So of course, he hugs her to him. He's like, it's going to be okay, Feyre. I'm here for you. But Tamlin walks in because he can hear that something's going on, and he makes some very unpleasant assumptions about the two of them. And it's really unfair on Lucien, because Lucien's like, whoa, I would never do that. What the hell? Like, I'm not moving in on your woman. But this is a real sensitive topic for Tamlin. Feyre's literally been stolen from him once. And the, up until this point, pretty solid bromance between he and Lucien is got cracks in it as deep as a crevasse. Lucien wasn't happy with the way Tamlin was treating Feyre prior to her leaving with Rhys. And so Feyre is just compounding issues that already exist. She hasn't made the relationship with them sour, but she is definitely hastening and exacerbating the problems that already exist there. We also have Feyre playing into winning the favor of Tamlin's men. Whenever there is an opportunity to, she is particularly nice to them. She takes their side in any disputes and very much positions herself as an advocate for the everyday people, for the soldiers, for the guards around the manor. When there's disputes with people like Yanthe, she is always going to be on the soldiers' side because there's more of them. And she hates Yanthe. So one by one, she starts distancing Tamlin from the support network he's got around him. She's hobbling him. She's cutting Yanthe off from the support of the people that she's trying to cultivate. And she is breaking up the friendship between Lucien and Tamlin, which is genius. It is, some would say, Machiavellian. But as a reader who really, really does like Lucien as a character, I feel really bad for him in all of this, because he is being used as a pawn. He is being manipulated. And today, I don't feel like that's super duper been addressed, because not only does this part of the book really erode his friendship with Tamlin, it does what I could see being irrevocable damage to his relationship with Feyre. Because a lot of the things Lucien has done up to this point are motivated by his friendships with these two people. And he has been put in awkward positions when those friendships conflict and the best interests of his two friends are in opposition to one another. But he has so far performed everything with quite a lot of conscience. Like, even when he's doing something he doesn't believe in, it's been quite overtly clear that Lucian isn't comfortable doing those things. He's just like, he's a nice guy. And so I love Feyre. I love everything about Feyre. And I totally understand, and I do feel like the way she, I have to say, uses Lucian is totally justified at this point. I see all the logic behind it. I feel so much empathy for him because he's nice and this is being taken advantage of. Now, Yanthe informs everyone that the land around her temple is dying and that she intends to find the cause and help try to fix it. At this point, we also find 3 children of the Blessed have crossed through one of the gaps in the veil into the Spring Court. We actually met the Children of the Blessed back in book 1. They are a kind of cult within the mortal lands that revere and venerate Fae. It's actually how we got quite a clear display of how the Archerons felt about Fae when they encountered some Children of the Blessed. And Nestor was really, really, really horrible to them and about them. We know that Feyre is intimately aware of who the members of the Blessed Children are because she has met them before. We've literally seen it happen. When they are caught trying to cross the veil and meet and engage with Fae IRL, Feyre manages to scare them away. But the next day, Feyre and Lucian go out and find the bodies of those Children of the Blessed, torn to pieces. They have been decapitated by the Hybern twins. Because the Children of the Blessed Faith think, oh, life was so much better when the Fae were in charge of everything, forgetting that the Fae see them as literally lower down in the pecking order than animals. They are cruel, they are mean to humans. With things gradually getting worse and worse in the Spring Court, Alice lets Feyre know that she's bowing out. She's going to head back to the Summer Court, be with her sister and her family, and we make homegirl right because things are getting worse in the Spring Court, not only because of the presence of elements of Hybern's army there, not only because the Veil itself seems to be disintegrating a little bit, but mainly because Feyre is creating an environment that is so toxic, it's hard for anyone to live there now. When Feyre finds out that Hybern's plan is 100% to use the cauldron to take down the Veil completely, she's like, right, okay, I feel like I have done enough damage here. I feel like I have learned enough. It is time for me to go home, back to the Night Court. Obviously, she's been planning out how she's going to do this for a while. She's got everything she needs, but on her way out, she sees Yanthe, I'm going to use the word abusing Lucian. And we find out that while Feyre was gone, another Calamai has passed. And Tamlin was so distraught at not having Feyre around that he refused to take part. And obviously, Calamai happening is incredibly important to sustaining the Spring Court and all of the magic therein. So Lucian had to act as a proxy, a not 100% willing proxy. Like, he did it because his friend needed him to, but we are seeing dubious consent there. And because Yanthe hasn't been successful in starting a sexual relationship with Tamlin, she is very much insistent on trying to create one with Lucian. We get a little bit more insight into how rough things have been for Lucian. He is unfortunately doing everything he can to keep the people around him happy to the detriment of his own happiness. And when Feyre stumbles upon Yanthe and gets a bit more of an idea of how things have been for Lucian while she's not been around, homegirl flips out. Funnily enough, consent matters quite a lot. Full stop. So Feyre decides to use some of that lovely Diamantide power, and she literally takes over Yanthe's mind and instructs her to bash her hand in with a rock. Like she's breaking her own bones. And Feyre's like, mm-hmm. And Lucian's watching it like, oh my god. Oh, it's this brilliant reveal. Lucian's reaction to discovering, oh no, it's not Rhys everyone should be scared of, it's Feyre. It's such a gag. Because he's quite a bright guy and he's definitely cottoned on at this point that something is up. Things aren't adding up, but he is gagged. He is shooketh. Now the Hybern twins arrive as Yanthe is like bashing her hand in, and they reveal that they've been poisoning Feyre so that she hasn't been able to access her full powers the entire time she's been in the Spring Court. Little did they know that even with poison in her, Feyre's still more powerful than they are. So she defeats them. Yanthy is just stuck there, making herself bloody. And Feyre makes it clear, Lucian, look, I'm skipping. I'm heading back to the Night Court. You've got a choice right here, right now. Come with me or stay and deal with the mess that I have made. And Lucian's like, well, if I go to the Night Court, I'll be able to see Elaine, who we found out at the end of the last book is Lucian's soulmate. So he's like, I think I'm gonna come with you. Now, this is quite a big decision for Lucian because he and Tamlin, they've been friends for a really long time. One of the big bits of Lucian's backstory is that he's the youngest son of Lord Beren, High Lord of the Autumn Court, who had lots of sons, all of whom basically kill each other because they want to inherit the title of High Lord. Lucian himself is clearly very powerful, so his brothers viewed him as a threat. And when Lucian fell in love with a human many years ago, his brothers and father kidnapped her and brutally murdered her in front of him. That was the severing of Lucian's relationship with his family. So we see a man who is unwanted and abused quite significantly by his brothers and father, find a real companion and a brother of sorts in Tamlin, who BT Dubs also had a really, really awful family. It is in fact said quite explicitly that Tamlin's older brothers, who all passed away same time as his dad did, that they were just as bad, if not worse, than Lucian's. So they were both very broken young men finding each other and growing together. And it's really tough for Lucian to separate and walk away from a situation that he knows has grown quite toxic. He knows Tamlin is doing things that are wrong. And luckily, Lucian does have the strength to say, no, I'm going to go with my convictions. Feyre is my friend and I want to be with my mate. I want a chance of being happy. So my precious, precious baby Lucian heads off with Feyre.